Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for a special Hearthstone Dailies for Ghost episode. My name's John, and joining me today is my friend Dan, also known as Bina on Cheerful Ghost, here to talk about the latest Hearthstone expansion news. I'm so excited to finally hear about it. We've only, Dan and I have been messaging each other just kind of like, okay, what do you think it's going to be? What do you think it's going to be? That's been really fun, so I'm really happy that we get a little bit of information about it today. And so we're going to start things up watching the trailer and talking a little bit about it. So here we are.
Now I've got a tale to tell you of the ones from long ago. There's an evil that's been dreaming, but now it's softly screaming. From the darkness, their power will grow. Their voices are made of
I love that frog.
When you listen, you are sure to be disturbed. You can lock your doors. You can say your prayers. No creature can resist their wicked words. Never mind, no need to worry. That's all just a story of the whispers of the old gods.
So I'll just kind of leave it on that image right there. So when I'm watching this trailer, I'm getting a serious Disney kind of vibe to it. It kind of feels like one of the songs out of The Little Mermaid or something like that. But what do you think, Dan? I mean, what do you think of the trailer?
You know, it was leaked that Whispers of the Old Gods was going to be the theme for this expansion a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Maybe a month ago. And I was kind of actually excited about that because some of the cards I thought were a little bit darker or a little bit more interesting. I was excited to see about some of the artwork that was coming out. So to have a trailer that's a bit more cartoony, did surprise me a bit.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. I really liked some of the previous trailers. So I was really looking forward. Not only to the release, but the trailer itself. Yeah. And I have to say, I was a little bit disappointed by the trailer.
Okay.
But you're right. The frog does just nail it. That was a pretty fun frog in the trailer.
Yeah, I think it gets the tone pretty well, and you're right. I mean, because during the stream announcement, Ben Brode's like, it's going to be darker, and then they released this trailer, which is kind of like darker, but I'm going to air quote dark because it's like fun dark, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, but they don't show a lot of the game. They don't show much, but it's a nice intro to the theme or whatnot. I'll admit, like during today's stream, you know, where they're talking about it, I definitely wanted more details, but what details they do have we will talk about. So but I liked it. I thought it was great. I love the art. They've got some fantastic artists at Blizzard. So let's talk about some of the new stuff that's coming on Monday, actually. So we're going to get some new stuff right away on Monday. First things first, we're going to get 9 additional deck slots and some new recipes. So let's go over some of the new recipes that we're going to be getting. And then we'll talk about the death slots. So basically what we're looking at is one of the problems that I think Blizzard noted that some of the people had was that they don't know how to build a deck. I mean, honestly, like when you're a new player, building a deck is really challenging. You don't know what to do. So one of the things that they're doing is giving you recipes. So let's look at some of them. So this is kind of like what you would see if you were trying to build a rogue. And there's 3 recipes in here. Classic rogue, it's combo time, and empowered spells. And as you can see, like they're all on a particular theme. And so what you do is you select the recipe. It will go through and sort of load up all the cards that you have that can fit this. So I think classic rogue, hopefully that's basics and stuff, you know, for new players, and then other kinds of things. And if you don't have the cards, then you can select, you know, an alternate. This is kind of some of the stuff for rogue. These are some of the decks for Hunter. So we've got like Classic Hunter, Death Trap, and the Thrill of the Hunt. These are some of the ones, Shaman recipes here. Classic Shaman, Totally Totems, which makes sense, and then Murlocs. So that's kind of interesting. So Dan, what do you think about these recipes here? Is this something you're going to be checking out when that comes out on Monday?
Yeah, I don't really see any down point to the recipes, you know. Seasoned players will scorn them. and there'll be a lot of smack talk about them.
Right.
Really, it just makes the game more inviting.
Yeah.
And the thing about Hearthstone is it really, you can come in at any level and play. Before I started playing this, I played Magic, so I had some basic idea of deck construction.
Right.
So I wasn't intimidated by it, but a lot of my friends that didn't come in from Magic, I think, had a little bit more trouble with that aspect of it.
Yeah, and I think in the analog and the Magic world, which is what got me back into Magic, actually, which was pre-constructed decks, right? So you'd buy a themed deck, and it was like $20, or dueling decks, actually, and it was a reasonably put-together deck. In fact, one of my favorite decks that I still have is kind of a blue-white flying deck, flying artifacts deck or whatever, and so that's really cool to see those. And it's nice to see sort of Hearthstone, you can't buy these, but they'll help you put them together because, again, building a deck when you first start is painful, and until you can figure it out, you're going to lose a lot. So
now, do you see yourself using any particular class recipe?
I think I'm just going to look at all of them and see what they've got. I'm interested to see how good they are, you know what I mean? Because I think I could probably put together a classic Shaman deck or a Totally Totems deck, or in the other stuff. But yeah, I definitely think I'm going to give some of them a shot because, one of the popular things right now in Hearthstone to do is, I think it's what they call net decking, which is to say you look online for a really popular deck recipe and you put it together. So this is really just giving people what they're already doing, just making it easier for beginners. So yeah, I definitely think I'm going to be putting these together, and there are a lot of.
I think, like I said, there'll be a lot of scoring online about this.
Yeah.
But the truth is, everyone's doing this already. The top players are doing this already. Everyone's checking out each other's deck. So.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They're like, oh, it's for noobs, as they totally do this together. Because if you look at the current meta right now, it's the same decks, same stuff, all the same decks. So really, Blizzard is just giving us what we all do. So yeah, that's really great. And so specifically also about the 9 new additional deck slots, what do you think about that, Dan? Because I definitely have some ideas about them adding those new slots there.
The way I understand it, there will not be a filter to discriminate between standard and wild.
That's interesting. I thought there would have been, for sure.
That's the last I heard, so I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know why they won't do that. The only thing I can imagine must be a programming issue. But it seems like it would be just a no-brainer to really give you an option to keep your decks standard or wild. I'm at 4 decks. I tend to open new packs pretty regularly. I'm a free-to-play account. I haven't bought any cards, but every week I try to open a pack of classic or 2.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty regularly switching up my decks. So because I'm constantly kind of deleting and revamping decks, I don't really need the extra space.
Sure.
But I think it will be helpful to have with the changeover to standard and wild.
Yeah, so for me, I think that I would definitely try a lot more decks because of this deck additions. For instance, right now, what I do is I've got my standard decks for all the classes that are pretty good decks for all the classes that I've built through net decking and changing them and whatever. And so doing this would allow me to experiment more because you can really only put together 1 deck per class. And since I like running all the daily quests, I try to play with all the classes. I have got favorites for sure, but so this will allow me to run a lot more decks because then I can have my standard, which will kind of help me grind through dailies, and then your
experimentals.
Exactly, right. Other stuff to try, or even trying putting together decks. Because again, if you're running your own decks and it's a really good deck, you don't want to delete it and then try something else out. And then what deck was that? Kind of bring that back. So adding 9 new slots for me, I think, is going to be really great. So that's really cool. So, and then everyone in Thailand is going to be really stoked so they can play the game. So that's coming on Monday. So it's really nice to see Blizzard do that. But what we're talking about is the new expansion, Whispers of the Old Gods. So let's talk about that. So the theme of Whispers of the Old Gods, like everyone who follows Hearthstone has kind of was aware again last month, was in Warcraft, there are these gods that are buried deep down in the earth, and these cultists are trying to bring them back. So there are going to be 4 new gods featured in the expansion: Khatun, Yogg-Saron, N'Zoth, and Waisharg. Anyways, it's I probably butchered pronouncing those, but there's only probably 3 nerds on the planet that know how to say that. Say them properly, anyways. And they really only dropped information about Cthulhu, and we're going to talk about him. But basically, it's all about these old gods and worshippers and god synergies with other cards and building decks kind of around that. Which is really interesting. It's not what I kind of thought they would do. It's kind of, it's really an interesting thing. So one of the things that's really interesting is Blizzard's doing something which everyone who logs in around the time of launch is going to get 3 free packs of Whispers of the Old Gods. And when you open a pack, the first pack, you're going to get you're going to get on top of it a guaranteed Cthulhu and 2 Beckoners of Evil, which the picture is right here. So you got your Cthulhu and then your Reckoner of Evil. So my question for you, Dan, this is really great. It's like basically everyone gets a god for the most part, and 2 cards that synergize well with that. My question for you, Dan, is why do you think Blizzard is giving away like a legendary for everyone in these cards? Like, why do you think they're doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think...
And 3 free packs. Like, what's up with that? Why did,
I wasn't playing while Nexramus was rolled out, but I think I read somewhere that they gave the first quest in Nexramus for free.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I see this as a similar thing. I think a lot of people are a little bit pissed about the switch over to Standard and Wild. I think this is a way of kind of hooking people in, trying to make sure that no matter how upset you are about it or how tentative you are about it,
right,
they at least put together a deck with these new cards. Because, I mean, let's face it, there are some players who would probably maybe take a break or stop playing altogether. I don't think a ton, but there are those players who would not really want to invest in the new cards in the same way or be a little bit salty about it. So I think this is really their attempt to give some splashy, fun cards that make people want to really invest.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is hey guys, we're really sorry about Wild and Standard, and Dr. Turn 7 is going away, you know what I mean? Which I am so thrilled that Goblins vs. Gnomes is going away and Dr. Boom is going away. Like, those cards...
I was wondering how far we'd have to make into this podcast before Dr. Boom was mentioned.
Yeah, goodbye Dr. Boom. Although I wonder if Dr. Boom is going to be one of the corrupted cards, but they haven't talked about that. That'd be really interesting.
Let's hope not. I haven't talked to anyone who's sad to see him go. I mean, players of all levels.
Unless you just crafted him, like, before you heard of this stuff, and then before you heard of the Wild Standard, which a lot of people, not a lot, but some people are pissed, but yeah. So, yeah, I totally agree, and I think it's cool to give away some packs, and it's cool to get a legendary, and it reminds me kind of what you do with the adventures, Hearthstone Adventures. Everyone gets the same legendaries. You grind for the gold, you get the same legendaries. I kind of look at this as like a adventure/expansion where everyone gets a free legendary. And when they mentioned it, I was like, you get a Cthulhu, everyone gets a Cthulhu. It's like their Oprah moment, handing out free legendaries or whatever. I wonder if he's going to be the most epic of them all and they're giving away for free, which is fine, which is totally fine, unlike Dr. Boom, which created a haves and have-nots. You know what I mean? There's like, for me, and if you don't have Dr. Boom, it's a big deal. Like, it's a big deal.
Yeah, I like being one of the few players that doesn't have them. I have to say,
I don't.
The number of cards I have, for the fact that I've had enough gold now, even though I'm free to play, I've had enough gold to craft the legendary.
Yeah.
I decided not to craft them because I collect so much.
Yeah, I mean, the collector in me is kind of bummed because it's like, oh, okay, well, now I can't. Now I'm never going to probably never going to have them because it's not going to be really, like, unless I play the ass out of Wild or whatever. And I can't imagine he's not going to be useful in Wild still, but yeah, for sure. So they showed off some new cards. Let's talk about it. First thing first.
I want to point out assumption you made a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Which is that this is going to be more synergistic than previous ones.
It looks like it. I mean, it looks like it based on the fact that they're talking about, the gods, and then, they have cards that specifically back them up,
Well, so, I mean, Cthulhu obviously works off synergy, right?
Very much, yeah.
But we don't know that about the other old gods.
Yeah, we don't know. Yep, absolutely. They might work on existing stuff or whatever,
Yeah, exactly. Or they might just be powerful cards in and of themselves with not really synergizing with their followers,
Yeah, yeah.
Or they might kind of be split where you might, I'm kind of wondering if, I haven't looked into the Old Gods yet, but I'm wondering if one of them is like a Kraken or something like that, I heard.
Yeah.
Uh,
That'd
and
be cool.
We will have a new race coming into play here or something like that. So that would be a fun synergy to see.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's look at Cthulhu. So Cthulhu is a 10. He's a 10 card, of course. He's a 6/6. So he's basically out of Big Game Hunter, although I've heard tons of rumblings that Big Game Hunter is going to get a nerf, and I kind of hope not. But then again, why would you play Cthulhu if you could just get... Well, anyways, we'll talk about his ability, and then we'll talk about that. But like Cthulhu, Battlecry, deal damage equal to this minion's attack, randomly split among all enemies. So if you did nothing to Cthulhu and you brought him out, he does 6 damage just kind of randomly around the board. So one of the cool things about Cthulhu, so let's look at it, Reckoner of Evil, Beckoner of Evil, which everyone's going to get 2 of, is Battlecry. Give your Cthulhu +2/+2 wherever it is. So if it's on the board, it gets +2/+2, or if it's in your hand, it gets +2/+2. And
or if it's in your deck.
Or if it's in your deck, right, exactly. Or if it's in your deck, it's +2/+2. And it's really cool because during this live stream today, they showed the effect where they brought out a Beckoner of Evil, and then the Cthulhu kind of looked like the Eye of Sauron, and it got bigger, and then everyone could see that it could. So that was really cool. So let's talk about Cthulhu a little bit. I mean, do they have to nerf Big Game Hunter to make these old gods? I mean, because if they're focusing on big stuff, then you kind of... Like, does it make sense to have Big Game Hunter anymore, or does it make sense to not to make, or does everyone have Big Game Hunter now? Basically, is the question. What do you think?
Big Game Hunter is a balancing factor in the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. I mean, it just keeps things from getting too big.
Right.
And I think in that way it's important, and it's by no means a safe bet to put in your deck because let's face it, if you're going up against an aggro deck, Big Game Hunter just isn't one of the best cards.
Yeah, it's pretty useless there, yeah.
So I don't think Big Game Hunter is OP, and I don't see a lot of reason for changing that this time.
A lot of people are talking about seeing that card get nerfed. I agree with the spirit behind it because Big Game Hunter nerfs fun. It's like you bring out a big card, you expect it to be big. Like Archthief Ratham, right? Dies. You know what I mean? I don't mind that it kills Dr. Boom. Although personally, I like to entomb Dr. Boom myself, but yeah, I think
how big is Big Game Hunter in the meta right now? I mean, is everyone running a Big Game Hunter?
No.
Is everyone running 2?
No, they're not. I don't think so. Although,
so if that's the case, what's the need to nerf it?
I kind of agree with you, unless this expansion is all about big creatures, and then they might nerf it anyways. Because, I mean, if you think about it thematically, it makes sense to nerf Big Game Hunter. I don't agree about doing it just based on where the game's at right now, and maybe even seeing these huge cards. But think about it like this. Like, nerfing Big Game Hunter makes sense because can just a Big Game Hunter kill an old god? You know what I mean? Just like thematically, it's just like a guy with
purposes.
Exactly, just a guy with a really sweet shotgun. Can you kill an old god right away? Like, I don't think so. But then again, you could kill an old god by running a 1/1 into it and then hitting it with execute. Does that make thematic sense? No, but anyways. So yeah. But I agree. I don't think that Big Game Hunter should be nerfed, although I've heard a lot of people saying it should be. So that's Cthulhu, and Beckoner of Evil, which we're all getting. Let's look at some of the other cards that we're not all going to get we have to open packs for. And this is interesting because Loot Hoarder is a classic card, and I run it in so many decks. Dan, do you run Loot Hoarder in a couple decks, I imagine?
Yeah, I do. I run them in where I'm milling myself to find an answer. If I have a particular combo-y deck, where really I'm just trying to get 2 or 3 cards together, or just trying to get a little defense on the board early on while I really hit the space I want to be, I tend to run him. He's not an auto-include for me, but it is a fun card. Yeah,
and definitely if you're throwing together any kind of zoo or kind of aggro deck, they kind of make some sense there, I think. But this is Polluted Hoarder, which is kind of one of the cool things about the new expansion, which is they're corrupting existing stuff. And we've got our old stuff and we've got our new stuff, which is really cool. And this is Polluted Hoarder. He costs 2 more. He gets +1 defense and +2 attack, and it's the same Death Rattle draw card. So it's basically the same card, it's just beefier, which is really interesting.
Can I really say, though, it is a horrible pun.
Polluted hoarder.
Polluted hoarder. I mean, that's bad.
Right. That's funny. No, I like the idea. I like the art on this one too. It's interesting. It definitely gives a lot more card draw because there are decks around card draw, and this adds it. But it's an interesting minion. Same stats as Big Game Hunter. Although I think Big Game Hunter, comes out as he's cost 3 or something.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's keep going. This is another corrupted minion. Corrupted Healbot. Okay, so I really don't like... This is... Healbot's going away. Goblins versus Gnomes. Healbot's like a 5. It's like a 3/3 for 5 that heals for 8. This one pretty much does the opposite. It's a 6/6, so it's beefier, and it restores 8 health to the enemy hero. Okay, this card is interesting because it's also a mech. So Mech Mage is going to keep living on, or some kind of mech decks are going to keep living on. I don't know, Dan, like, does this make sense in any other deck but a Priest where you have the healing reversed? Or is this just a deck that you can bring out some beef and then hopefully silence it or something?
What is that card called that shows my limited knowledge of Priest? The Soul Priest, the one that reverses the power of healing.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It reverses all healing becomes attack. And that's a very common Priest card right now, so.
When I saw this card, I figured they must be nerfing that. Because, I mean, to be able to bring this out, a huge card for 5, 6/6 for 5 is great.
Yeah.
And then to automatically be able to stack it and do an additional 8 the next turn. I mean, that would be ridiculously powerful.
So what card is that card again? Do you remember what it's called? Maybe it's Goblins versus Gnomes.
A Knock-You Soul Priest or something like that.
Yeah, let me look. Let me do a Google search for that. No, I'm not going to do it right now, actually, now that I think about it. But you know what? That actually might be a Goblins versus Gnome card. And if it is, then it's going out. I don't know.
I think it's classic.
I think it's classic. Okay, well, then they must be nerfing it. Or this card is really going to be great in Priest as an auto-include or something because it's ridiculous.
Right now, Priest is going to be losing Light Bomb.
Yeah, big deal.
Which is a popular board clear.
Yeah, I hate it.
Soul Priest in combo with Circle of Healing is a popular board clear.
Yeah.
So I really think that they're actually going to nerf that card as well. Because I think they're going to try to get away from some of the very conventional surefire board clears that people have been using.
Right. This sort of reverse healing kind of thing. Yeah, interesting. So Corrupted Healbot's a really interesting card. I kind of like it. Validated Doomsayer. So we all know what Doomsayer does. You bring it out on the board. It's a 0/7. At the start of your turn. Start of your next turn, it wipes all the boards out. Since the old gods are coming back, this guy's so happy. He's so validated. And at the start of your turn, set his attack to 7. I mean, what's not to love about this card? I mean, it doesn't work right away. I think it allows someone to kill it by flipping it. You know what I mean? Flipping the attack and defense. But I think it's fairly straightforward. I like it. I don't know. I think we'll see what's going to happen from this one, but I don't think it's bad.
Well, one other nice thing about it is it cannot be immediately BGH'd.
It cannot. Oh, that's right. It can't. So if they're keeping Big Game Hunter,
the opponent plays a BGH, it does nothing.
Yes, you get at least one swing with this guy unless they kill it right away with something else. That's a really good point. I wonder if that's a little nod to the fact that BGH is not going away.
It can be silenced, which makes it pretty much worthless.
They'd have to silence it right away, though, right? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing is it cannot be buffed. So using combinations with other cards that, when this minion guy is given a minion plus 4, it can be buffed, but its attack cannot be buffed plus 7.
Right, it's not setting it off the health, which you could do the Priest, like, double a minion's health, and this would get ridiculous.
But then the next turn it would go back to 7, because at the start of your turn...
Right. That's right, you can't buff it. That's a really good... Oh, I now get what you mean. That's a really good point. Wow.
So I think this is a really interesting card. I don't know if we've ever seen a card in this game yet that is
always resetting itself.
Yeah, that kind of has this dynamic nature.
You know what? Right. That's a really good point. Like, this is, they added some Paladin cards where they can set your attack to 1 or 3. This is pretty much screws to that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good point. I hadn't considered.
So it can't be BGH. It can't get out of control by getting huge. It can't be nerfed by getting small unless you silence it.
Wow.
So
yeah,
this card made me wonder if we're going to see more silences in the expansion, and if we're going to see silences in more neutral cards or more class-specific cards.
It's interesting. I've heard a lot of people say that they think that Ironbeak Owl should be nerfed and you should not be able to silence things. And I again, because it says it takes the fun out of the game. But I don't know, man. I mean, if we're going to see such craziness and Whispers of the Old Gods, maybe you need the old owl more than ever.
Yeah, I think silencing does not take the fun out of the game. I think it takes the fun out of players who have ridiculous cards and can buy whatever cards they want, or craft whatever card they want. I think silencing is a really effective way of balancing the playing field sometimes.
Yeah, I agree, because I think the first card that I recommended that you craft and everyone craft when they get is Ironbeak Owl, right?
You were playing this game, I think, about 6 months before I started, 3 months before I started, and you told me to craft that when I started. It was the first class card I crafted, and it is extremely useful. I was really thankful for that advice.
Yeah. All right, let's keep rolling. I think we have one left, and it's Twilight Elder. At the end of your turn, give your Cthulhu +1/+1 wherever it is. So what we're looking at is a spider tank that isn't a mech. It's a 3/4 for 3 that buffs Cthulhu. I don't know why you wouldn't want this card in your Cthulhu deck. It's spider tank. Or if you don't
run Spider Tank for his stats alone.
Yeah, I know.
3/4 for 3 is just a good card.
Yeah, it is. So you could run this because Spider Tank's going away in Goblins vs. Gnomes. You could run this. It's not a mech, so you're not going to get mech synergies, but yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, I dig these new cards a lot. I think that Blizzard's going down the right path. I wish we had a few more to talk about, but that's just the way with them trying to build.
I actually have some questions for you if you have the time.
Yeah, what's up? Oh, we got time. We got time. What's up?
Well, so in Goblins vs. Gnomes.
Yeah.
Here's my thought that it was about two things. It was about standalone cards.
Yes.
And mech synergy.
Yes, they definitely got that right in that one. Yeah.
There was enough synergy in mechs that players of all levels could successfully put together a mech deck. I think most notably Mech Mage.
Yeah.
Had a lot of popularity on ladder.
Very much.
But you also had some fun standalone cards. One of my favorite, Piloted Shredder. This is probably currently my favorite card in the game. Yeah. And it's because I really
pretty much, it's like a 4-drop that it pretty much should be included, I mean, almost should be included in every deck, mostly.
And I love cards that have random effects, right?
Yeah.
Cards that, like Ram Wrangler or Ball of Spiders, where you cast it, you're not quite sure what it's going to do, but when it pays off, it really pays off.
Right.
This is how I feel about Piloted Shredder. But, unlike Ram Wrangler, and unlike Ball of Spiders, those cards can go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
You can end up spending a lot of mana for a card that's really not going to be helpful.
You don't get King Crush all the time with Ram Wrangler, even though that's exactly what you want every time almost.
Yeah, sometimes you get an Angry Chicken, and then you're like, okay, 3/3 and a 1/1 for 5,
Yeah.
But Piloted Shredder was... I won't go on. But the point is, in Goblins vs. Gnomes, you had mechs which had nice synergy with each other. And some of these fun standalone cards like Anti-Kill Pod, Piloted Shredder. In Grand Tournament, you had the Inspire mechanic, the Joust mechanic. You had a lot more demons added to the Warlock deck. They really tried to build up demons as a thing.
Right.
More beasts added across the board. So I'm wondering, John, what do you expect to see with this expansion? Do you expect to see some sort of tribal synergy? Do you expect to see more standalones? What do you think is going to happen? What
I think is going to happen, based on what we've seen, is we're going to see god synergies, and that's going to be the mostly what they're going to focus on. What I'd like to see is maybe what I don't think we're going to see. What I'd like to see is more additions, because Goblins vs. Gnomes is kicking out some really important cards. For instance, for me, it's kicking out some Murloc cards, and it's kicking out some Pirate cards. Well, I think that I think that Blizzard should keep Murloc decks. Like, they're not viable at all. You know what I mean? What I'd like to see is some new Murloc cards that make a Murloc deck viable. What I'd like to see is some more Pyro cards to make a Pirate deck viable. I personally hate mech decks, so I don't want to see any of that stuff. I just hate them. They've just been cheesed to death. It's like, even with the Grand Tournament, mech decks are just rampant. You know, I just don't like, dealing with them, frankly. I think they're cheesy. But anyways, so I think they're going to focus on that. I don't think we're going to see a lot of mech synergies, but they said they're going to release like 130 plus cards. So hopefully they add, because they added some Murloc stuff in League of Explorers, and hopefully they add a few more, because they don't, again, like I say, Murlocs aren't really viable. But I think we're going to see that kind of thing. I don't know if we're going to see a new mechanic. They haven't said that we're going to see a new mechanic yet, but they might. It might be something they're going to drop, later this month. So that would be really interesting. There might be a mechanic like when Old God comes onto the board, like whispers or something like that. You know what I mean? Or when an Old God, talks or does like some, like if you bring out a card that does something to an Old God. There might be a whisper mechanic that whenever that happens, something else happens in response to it. I think that would be kind of interesting too, you know what I mean? Like do 1 damage to everything on the board if there's a whisper, an Old God whispers or whatever. So that could be really interesting, but
now my next question, I thought the Inspire mechanic in the Grand Tournament essentially flopped.
Is a really cool idea that didn't seem to be as cool as it seemed, yeah.
I didn't see too many Inspire cards make it into ladder. Did you?
Geez. No. As much as I would, yeah. I think in general the Grand Tournament wasn't amazing in general. I would say for meta. I mean, some of the cards were really good, but yeah, I think League of Explorers was way more. Change things way more. So, yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering with the Old Gods how effective the Old Gods synergy actually will be.
Yeah.
We saw that Inspire wasn't effective.
Yeah.
As ineffective as Inspire was, Joust was a complete joke.
Yeah, there are only a couple cases where we want to include cards with Joust, and and that's mostly in like Paladin control decks and stuff.
So my next question is how effective do you think they're gonna? Did they learn from that? Are they going to be more effective in their synergy for the Old Gods?
I think that's a good question. I think that remains to be seen. I think that if we start seeing a bunch of Death Rattles, and then they're adding, and then they do Inspire cards, and they add Battle Cry cards, which they have so far. We've seen that they've added some Death Rattles and Inspires and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to add a new mechanic. Part of me thinks that if they are going to add a new mechanic, that they do it later in the month just to keep the marketing train hype going. You know what I mean? They don't want to talk about it all in the beginning, so they're going to keep it going. But yeah, I do think they're going to add a new keyword. I do. And is it going to be useful? I hope so. We'll see. But yeah.
My last question for you, what class do you think is going to be coming up in ladder more? There's some
before the Whispers, or
there's some classes that just haven't really made it in ladder.
Yeah.
Oh, or in when we watch tournaments that just haven't had the presence in tournaments. Obviously, Druid has always had a strong presence in tournaments.
Yeah.
Paladin sometimes has, sometimes hasn't.
Yeah.
Which ones do you think we're going to see more on ladder? Which ones do you think we're going to see more in tournaments?
Well, I think Shaman's actually doing pretty well, and it historically hasn't. So I was really happy to see that with aggro Shaman being a thing. I guess I could say it like this. I think there are some classes that are going to get less attention. How's that? I think the classes that are going to get less attention are probably going to be Warlock, Priest, and Mage. I think those classes
I think they need to seriously look at Priest because it's got some great board clears. And it's got some other factors that have it really just kind of dominating a lot of the ladder and tournaments right now. So
it would be nice if they could give Hunter some love. They really tried some interesting ideas with lock and load and this, that, and the other. I wish that they would, maybe give that class a little bit of love, and then some more options for Shaman would be really nice, I think. But I don't think we're going to see the strongest ladder classes get as much love as all the other ones. That's how I'll answer that. I don't know exactly what they're going to buff yet. I hope Shaman gets more love, but we'll see.
So do you think my least favorite class, and one that I've never seen do very well, is Rogue?
Yes.
Now, Rogue is a very strong class, and anyone who's gone up against a Miracle Rogue can attest to the fact that it can do some pretty wild things.
My favorite deck right now is the Raptor Rogue. It's so much fun. But that deck is going away in Standard because that deck relies on Naxxramas,
Well, but that was kind of what I was wondering, if they were going to get, you and I talked about how almost all the Death Rattle cards are
going to be gone. Yeah, I hope this adds a ton of Death Rattle.
Are we going to see a lot more Death Rattle? Or are we going to see some help for Rogue to make it really viable in tournaments and on ladder?
I certainly hope so. I mean, they added a Death Rattle card. I mean, they added the new Polluted Hoarder.
And Death Rattle does go with the flavor of the expansion.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, if they want, they just added the Raptor to Rogue. If they want to make that viable, they're going to have to add more Death Rattle cards, right? They can't just kick all of them out, right? And you can't kick out all the best Death Rattle cards and then expect that card to be worth anything. You know what I mean? So, I hope so. So. Yeah, I hope they make Rogue better. Raptor Rogue is one of my most favorite decks to play right now because it's just so much fun to steal this ability and have that die and then have the stuff die and stuff come from it, and it's just so much fun.
I've talked to you about this before. One of my favorite aspects in any deck is having multiple lines of play.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the fun things about Raptor Rogue is that you can... Still the Death Rattle of this or the Death Rattle of that, and still have it be fun. Yeah,
I just hope that there's a lot of decks that are viable. I think that's what they're going for with this expansion, which they're trying to say, look, let's make a lot of things viable. Instead of just Zoo, Secret Paladin, etc. Because if you look at if you look at what I'm playing right now and what I'm seeing in casual and stuff, it's a lot of Zoo. It's a lot of aggro. It's, you know what I mean? So hopefully...
Dragon Priest.
Exactly. I've got that Dragon Priest deck. So it would be nice to see more viability, Net deck is only going to be a thing, but maybe there'll be 30 decks instead of, whatever, the same 5 that we see or whatever. So the expansion's coming out, they said late April, early May. My first response to that was that seemed like a long time to me, and I was kind of bummed. What do you think about that?
If they do intend to go with 3 expansions per year, early May, that means 4 full months into the expansion, so that just seems kind of to set an odd calendar for the year. Mm-hmm. Maybe the next one 3 months later.
Yeah, that might be shorter.
3 months later. I don't know how they're going to do it. But that's what they're saying.
So they want to do 3 per year. Yeah, I definitely think that I'm ready for some new shakeup. So another month and stuff is not looking great for me, but that's probably why they're handing out so much free stuff.
John, how much gold are you sitting on right now?
I'm sitting on 3,300, 3,400, 3,000, somewhere around there. How much you got?
3,500.
Yeah, so we're about the same. So I did the math on this one.
I'll have about 50 packs of the new expansion when it comes out.
Yeah, so right. So if they release end of April, so April last day, I'll have over 5,000, that'll be like 50. I mean, so I don't mind that, but I'm definitely ready for the new stuff. You know what I mean? Just to get the game shook up again, I'm ready for that. But it's cool. We're getting the new stuff next week, the new deck slots and this and that, so it'll be kind of fun. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to open all 50 packs from that, but I definitely, because I think that...
my guess is that you are.
Right. I wonder if I'm going to save 700, save a little bit, or if I'll immediately start saving for the next expansion or whatever, which I'll probably do, which will probably be an adventure, so that'll be easier to get.
I think I'm going to open a bunch of packs and then start saving for the adventure.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty good. Because if they keep like 3 months between each expansion, that's enough to replenish your gold for the next thing.
Yeah.
More than enough. So, just wanted to thank everyone for watching this episode. And before I wrap things up, Dan, is there anything you want to say about Whispers of the Old Gods?
No, I think one other thing it's going to be interesting to see if they try to, now that we know that they're going to come out with about 3 per year and then start recycling others, it's interesting to see what that can do for the flavor. Are they going to build the expansions and the adventures into a theme for the year? Or is it going to be, as it has in the past, kind of pretty standalone?
Well, they said that they are, and so this is the year of the Kraken. So, yeah, maybe it's all about that, like, evil, being unleashed or whatever. But, yeah, I hope so. So, that'll be really cool.
All right, John, thanks for having me on.
All right, thanks. And thanks for checking out this episode of Hearthstone Dailies for Ghosts, and I'll see you next